So, let's talk literature. What comes to mind when you hear that word? The Oxford Dictionary defines literature as written works, especially those considered of superior or lasting artistic merit, which in my opinion is a very outdated and slightly classist definition, because who decides if it is of superior artistic value? My personal definition of literature differs quite a lot. To me, literature is something that is supposed to evoke emotions in the reader. It is supposed to transport the reader into different worlds. Good literature should make the reader empathize with its characters. It should touch the reader in a way. And most importantly, at least to me, it should entertain. So, when people ask me, so if you're so passionate about reading and literature, what is it that you read? Can you recommend me something? And this is where it gets interesting. I used to read a lot as a kid, and in my early tween/teen years, I used to read a lot of coming-of-age books, young adult fantasy literature, also some historical novels. I also read a lot of thrillers. My taste was quite eclectic, but the older I became, the harder it was to just sit down, take a book and read it. When before, I had no trouble reading a 500-page long book in 2 days' time. Over time, it just became harder to find motivation to read a book, or time. It felt daunting, like too big of a commitment, weirdly enough. That's when I started preferring reading something a bit more bite-sized, or at the very least, it gives off the illusion of being bite-sized. When in actuality, thinking about it, the stories I read online mostly are novel-sized, and the amount of time I spend reading those stories is probably the amount of time I would spend reading multiple novels. And thus, we come to the topic of today's video: fanfiction. For those uninitiated, fanfiction is fan-created fiction, where an author takes something that already exists, a book, a show, a film, anything really, and takes its characters or setting or ideas and transforms it. So in short, fanfiction authors create stories around already existing media. And while fanfictions do tend to get a bad rap, mostly because for a lot of young people, it is the first step into being an author, into writing. There are some fanfictions that are just amazing pieces of art, well written, sometimes even better than the source material. Sometimes these fanfictions are incredibly long, like actually novel-sized. And these authors all do this for free, just because they enjoy writing so much and because they feel so passionate about the worlds that they are creating. So today, I want to talk about some of my all-time favorite fanfictions. These are not all the fanfics I love, they are just a small handful of fanfics that I picked because I wanted to share them with people. And I'm very well aware that my personal taste may not suit everyone, but I'm quite certain that if you invest just a tiny bit of time and look through the fanfictions, you will find something that you like. That being said, I am a huge fan of self-inserts, OC inserts, reincarnation fanfics. I tried to put not too many in this video because I know a lot of people think they're cringy, but cringe culture is dead, so you can suck my dick. I'm very sorry that was unnecessarily aggressive. But I think I got a good mix of self-insert fanfictions and fanfictions that are not that. And maybe you'll even see one that you're interested in. A Shot in the Dark by Silver Pulp is a Hobbit time travel fix-it fanfiction where Bilbo wakes up after dying of old age, and he's basically in his younger body right before the adventure with Gandalf and the three dwarves begins. The pairing is bag and shield, which is always a plus for me. It's incredibly well written. The angst is, as you will come to learn, I'm a huge fan of angst and hurt and comfort fanfics. Bilbo tries to fix everything that went wrong. He tries to save Thorin and Keely and Feely, and it's just, it's beautiful. And if you're unhappy with how the Battle of the Five Armies ended, this is definitely the fanfiction for you. Home with the Fairies by Aimushi, I hope I'm pronouncing that username right. It's basically a tale on modern girl falls into Middle-earth world that is a bit more realistic. The main character is a little bit infuriating, as in you read it and you're like, oh my god, that is such a stupid decision, but in reality it's probably something that a lot of us would do. The main character doesn't speak the language that's spoken in Middle-earth. At first she doesn't even realize where she is. She just thinks she's like somehow time traveled. It deals with the problems of a modern person living in basically medieval times and the hygienic and logistic troubles that come with that. It's not another one of the so-called 10th Walker fanfics. It's incredibly original and I would highly recommend it. I have read quite a lot of Ouran High School Host Club fanfictions, and this one is by far one of my favorites. So Incredibly Plain by Little Piggy is an Ouran High School Host Club fanfiction that I come back to every once in a while, and just every time I reread it, it's just a lot of fun to read. There are so many OC fanfictions in the Ouran fandom, which makes sense because this is a reverse harem and like there's a lot of cute boys, so it makes sense. This particular fanfiction is very unique. The main character, Momoku, is a friend from Haruhi's. They went to middle school together, and she sees herself as just completely mediocre, nothing special. Which makes it interesting is that she's incredibly jealous of Haruhi. And this sounds maybe a bit strange, but it's also very compelling in the way that it's like, it's understandable. She and Haruhi meet up during the summer again. So she also meets the host club, which causes a whole lot of set of different issues. I don't want to get too much into it. If you are into OC fanfictions and you're very tired of the same cliches, then this is definitely a fanfiction for you. Be warned, it is very angsty and does deal with like some serious topics such as like depression and mental health issues and panic attacks. So onto another Ouran High School Host Club fanfiction, Ordinary Eternal Machinery by, I'm so sorry once again, Ouran Wraith. Ouran is not a school for the rich and beautiful, but in this world it is a psychiatric hospital where Haruhi and the hosts are people in this hospital with their own like mental illnesses and disorders. And it's so interesting and well written, and I really like the idea. I think what I like most is that it's not stigmatizing or anything, it's just interesting, and the mental health struggles actually really fit the original characteristics of the characters in the Ouran universe, and I would recommend it as well. The Looking Glass series by Faye is another Ouran fanfic that I really enjoy. It's basically the host club and Haruhi just all living together after graduating from Ouran High School. And I would almost call it a character study in a way. It's all about their relationship, not just between Haruhi, but between the hosts themselves. It's basically Ouran High School Host Club, but make it polyamorous. And it's beautifully written, and I cannot recommend it enough. It was actually recommended to me by one of my partners, and I'm so glad they showed it to me. It's beautiful. Save Me by Dixie Philly is a Vampire Knight fanfiction, once again an OC fanfiction. The main character, Kira, comes to Cross Academy because Chairman Cross has called for her. Her parents were scientists who tried to find a cure for level E vampires, basically to make them less dangerous and find a way for them to actually survive. So Chairman Cross calls her into the academy to try and find a cure for Zero. It is so well written, once again. The backstory of the main character is incredibly unique, I think. It does have the more or less cliched dark character of a backstory, but it's still very interesting. A very likable main character. The romance is so well written. I do come back to it every once in a while, and every time I reread it, it's perfection. Yesterday Upon the Stair by Pit Viper Doom is a very popular My Hero Academia fanfiction. So if you are already into fanfiction and you know the My Hero Academia fandom a little bit, you might have heard of it. It does deserve to be this well known because it is once again incredibly well written. Basically it kind of combines My Hero Academia and The Sixth Sense? Where Izuku Midoriya actually has the ability to see ghosts, but no one believes him. Everyone thinks he's just making a quirk up because he doesn't want to be seen as quirkless. And it's basically the plotline of My Hero Academia, but with the added bonus of Izuku being able to see ghosts. And it's just, once again, A lot of angst, very well written. It leads to some very emotional moments that I adore it. Tentative Bliss by Remy is an Attack on Titan fanfiction, and it does deal with some mature subjects, so I would advise like anyone under 18 not to read it. Basically, this fanfiction takes place in a normal modern world, like there are no titans or anything, just takes the characters. It is a BDSM fanfiction. The smut scenes are incredibly well written, but that is not why I'm actually suggesting it. I am recommending it because it is just so funny. BDSM fanfictions do have the reputation that they're always very gloomy, very angsty, just everyone has some kind of trauma. And I'm not saying that it isn't the case in this fanfiction, but it's like, it's not the main point. It's all about the characters and their relationships between one another, and it's just so funny. And I did find myself actually cackling out loud when I read it. It's about Ouran, who's moving in for a month with Levi, because Levi is a dom, Ouran is a sub, and he's trying to see if they fit well together. And in Levi's house also lives Armin, as another sub, and that's basically all you need to know for the premise. Once again, one of those fanfics that I just come back to and reread when I don't feel good, when I need a laugh. Very, very much recommended. Where the Lonely Make the Lonely Feel Less Lonely by Grumpy Hedgehogs is an Umbrella Academy fanfiction, and it's kind of an alternative take on the first season. It was written after the first season came out and before the current one aired. So Victor is still referred to as Vanya with she/her pronouns. Just a heads up, it's not malicious or anything, it was just written before the third season came out. And Victor. Like I said, it's kind of an alternative take on season 1, where Vanya gets thrown into all these different kind of scenarios where she kind of saves people by just being herself, with no superpowers or anything, by just talking to people and being a courageous, good person, which attracts the attention of the other members of the Umbrella Academy, and then they all find together, and it's such a beautiful story about family and forgiveness and finding strength and value in yourself, and it's beautiful. I would definitely recommend it. I do reread it a lot. It cheers me up a lot, and yeah, it's beautiful. In the Dark by Joe Babe is a BBC Sherlock fanfiction, which deals with my all-time favorite pairing, and I know a lot of people don't like it, that's okay. It's Jollock, which is Molly, John, and Sherlock in a polyamorous triad. Basically, it kind of takes place between seasons 2 and 3, and it goes into alternative universe again. After Sherlock's suicide, Molly and John grow a lot closer, but they do realize they love Sherlock too. And once again, very, very angsty, deals with mental health issues, but it very much fills the hole that my Jollock cravings left in my heart. Obviously, I'm aware it's not for everyone, but I really, really like it, especially because it's so angsty, and yeah. Now, here we've got a classic in the Undertale fandom, and it is 6 Skeleton, 1 Maid by Raccoon Sin Queen. If you do know a little bit about Undertale and its fandom, you also know that there are a lot of AU, alternate universes. One is Underfell, where everyone is edgy and dangerous. The other one is Underswap, where everyone's character is kind of switched around. Like Papyrus is the one who wears a hoodie, Sans is the one who wants to go into the Royal Guard. Then there's Underswap, where everyone is edgy and their personalities are swapped. Basically, 1 Maid and 6 Skeletons is the story of a maid serving all of these alternative universe Sansas and Papyruses in a mansion. All of this did happen because of Gaster's machine. Sans tried to fix it, but instead of it getting fixed, it pulls people from the alternative universes into our universe, into the main timeline, and chaos ensues. I think this particular fanfiction is the pioneer, and it inspired a lot of other fanfictions in this vein. All of these different kind of Papyruses and Sanses living together, and then a reader or an OC comes along and romance ensues. It's a huge guilty pleasure of mine. There's also been kind of an anti-harem movement going on, anti-skeleton harem, movement going on, which is also very entertaining to read if you don't mind reader inserts or anything like that. It's very funny, and I do like the premise a lot of like all the stanzas and papyruses of the different timelines coming together, and like everyone has their own kind of charm, and it's incredibly well written once again. Another Undertale fanfiction I really love is Just Enough by Jijiri and Cinebi. It takes place after the pacifist ending, where the monsters are on the surface and living their life now. Once again, there's a reader character, and she's experiencing the same few months over and over again. So she is stuck in a time loop, and she thinks she's all alone in this. She ends up meeting San, who changed her time loop a little bit, and so they do realize that, oh, these are the only people who remember that we are in a time loop, and they're trying to figure out why this is happening. This fanfiction has such rich world building, such good writing. The relationships are so believable. The mystery of like what is causing the time loops, like why is this happening? It's so intriguing. It's very original actually, and I really like it. Why Not Both by Barnes is a Harry Potter fanfiction. Let me just say a few things. I do not support J.K. Rowling. The only way I interact with the Harry Potter world is through fandom, fanfictions, fan art, that kind of stuff. I do not want to financially support J.K. Rowling at all, or like endorse her anyway, but the Harry Potter fandom has some fantastic fanfictions, and it does feel disingenuous if I left out fanfictions that I actually do reread a lot too, because J.K. Rowling kind of ruined Harry Potter for all of us. I refuse to give her that power. Just a small disclaimer. Why Not Both kind of is in the timeline of after the war at Hogwarts, but before the epilogue in a way. Kind of can be seen as an alternative universe once again. The pairing is Ron, Hermione, and Viktor Krum. Once again, polyamorous triad. That's just what I personally am into. I really like those different dynamics. It's incredibly fun to read. And I think that's all you need to know. It has such incredibly funny and cute moments, and it's just, you read it and it makes you smile. And it's the kind of fanfic that just makes me happy when I think about it. Yeah. Harry Potter and the Avatar's Return by Pristine Ungift is a crossover between Harry Potter and Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Harry, when he's really, really young, finds an old book of Dudley's, which is like a comic of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he realizes, I have these special abilities, these things happen to me. Oh, I must be the Avatar. And it's so funny, but it also kind of heartbreaking. I wish it was longer, it's just a one-shot, but it's perfect in every way. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Absolutely worth a read. It's very, very funny. Ezra Pound said, "Great literature is simply language charged with meaning to the utmost possible degree." And I am inclined to agree. To me personally, for something to count as literature, it doesn't have to have some great impact upon the world. Literature is something that should touch your soul and make you feel something, and fanfiction definitely belongs under that category. I've been reading fanfictions since I was 12, so over 10 years. It actually helped me learn English. The only reason why I can speak English this fluently is fanfiction, not school or anything else. Fanfictions have had such a profound impact on my life, and I know it has impacted a lot of other people as well. So since fanfiction is such a big part of my life and I enjoy reading them so much, I decided to make this video and talk about them and give out some recommendations. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching so far, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day wherever you are. Bye.